has forever changed the real estate world, hoping to make the industry safer.
The biggest personality, but she was also so sweet and so humble.
The couple.
It was supposed to be just another ordinary day. 50-year-old Beverly Carter, a successful real estate agent in Little Rock, Arkansas, had built her reputation on trust, professionalism, and her ability to connect with people. She was known for her warmth, her bright smile, and her dedication to helping families find the homes of their dreams. But on the evening of September 25, 2014, Beverly walked into a showing that she thought was safe, routine, and part of her everyday job. Instead, she stepped straight into a trap. By the time the night was over, Beverly was missing. Her car was abandoned in front of a home she was supposed to show, her purse and phone left behind. Hours later, her husband frantically tried calling, sending messages that went unanswered. And then came the chilling silence that would shatter a family and haunt an entire community. The case of Beverly Carter is not just a story of one woman's tragic end. It is a story of calculated deception, of predators who used her profession to their advantage, and of the devastating consequences that followed. In this video, we'll walk through the events that led to Beverly's disappearance, the shocking details of the investigation, the trial that gripped Arkansas, and the lasting impact her story has left on the real estate industry. This is the story of Beverly Carter, a mother, a wife, a professional, whose kindness was exploited, and whose legacy continues to protect others even after her death. Before her name was etched into headlines, Beverly Carter was simply known as a woman full of energy, laughter, and compassion. Born and raised in Arkansas, Beverly grew up with strong family values that stayed with her throughout her life. She married Carl Carter, and together they built a loving home with 3 children. Her friends often described her as someone who could light up any room, the kind of person who remembered birthdays, made people feel seen, and always put others before herself. Professionally, Beverly was thriving. She found her calling in real estate, a career that perfectly matched her outgoing personality. She loved helping families find not just a house, but a place they could call home. Her clients trusted her, admired her work ethic, and often turned into lifelong friends. For Beverly, real estate wasn't about transactions, it was about connections. Her dedication to her job, however, also came with risks she didn't fully realize at the time. Real estate agents often work alone, meeting strangers in vacant properties, sometimes in secluded areas. To Beverly, it was just part of the job. She never imagined that her kindness and trust could be used against her. Outside of work, Beverly cherished her role as a mother and grandmother. She adored her family and made it her mission to balance her busy career with quality time at home. Though it was the evening of September 25, 2014, when Beverly Carter prepared for what seemed like an ordinary showing. She told her husband, Carl, that she had an appointment with a new couple interested in purchasing a home. The property was located on Quapaw Road in a quiet, somewhat rural area of Scott, Arkansas. To Beverly, this was routine. She had met countless clients in similar situations before. She arrived at the house around 5:30 p.m. Carl expected her to be back soon, but as the hours ticked by, his concern grew. By 9 p.m., panic set in. Beverly wasn't answering calls or texts, something completely unlike her. She was always in touch with her family. Carl decided to drive to the property himself, hoping she had simply lost track of time. When he pulled into the driveway, Beverly's green Cadillac SRX was parked outside. At first, Carl felt a wave of relief, until he realized the car was empty, her purse was still inside, and there was no sign of Beverly. The house itself was dark and vacant. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Carl immediately called 911. Within hours, deputies from the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office arrived at the scene. They searched the property and the surrounding woods, but there were no clear clues as to where Beverly had gone. The next day, her disappearance dominated local news. Friends, family, and fellow real estate agents began spreading the word. Volunteers joined in, forming search parties that combed through fields and neighborhoods. The unsettling part? Beverly's phone was going straight to voicemail, cutting off any chance of contact. Then came the most chilling detail: investigators discovered text messages sent from Beverly's phone to her husband. The messages claimed she was fine and just needed some time alone. But Carl knew immediately, this wasn't Beverly. She would never disappear without a word, and certainly not on the night of a scheduled showing. Something was very, very wrong. The disappearance of Beverly Carter quickly shifted from a missing person case to a suspected abduction. And as investigators dug deeper, they began to uncover details that would lead them straight to the people responsible for luring her to that house. Detectives knew early on that Beverly hadn't simply walked away. Her abandoned car, purse left behind, and sudden silence were all red flags. The property where she vanished became the focal point of their search. Crime scene technicians combed the home and surrounding area for anything that might explain what happened. Meanwhile, investigators traced Beverly's cell phone activity. The odd text messages sent to Carl stood out. They felt staged, almost mechanical. Detectives believed they were written to buy time, not by Beverly herself. This led police to suspect that whoever had taken her was trying to mislead the family. Authorities soon discovered that Beverly's last appointment was scheduled with a man and woman posing as potential buyers. Witnesses recalled seeing a couple near the property around the time she disappeared. Detectives began piecing together descriptions and searching records for anyone who might have contacted her about the showing. As the investigation expanded, police urged real estate agents across Arkansas to be cautious. They warned that Beverly's disappearance could be connected to her work. A break came when detectives tracked phone records and digital communications connected to Beverly's work. These pointed to Aaron and Crystal Lowry, a couple with financial troubles and a history of instability. Aaron, in particular, stood out. He had a criminal background, and investigators learned he had contacted Beverly under the guise of being a prospective buyer. With mounting evidence, detectives began surveilling the couple. Every hour was critical, as Beverly was still missing and there was hope she might be found alive. The focus now shifted from locating suspects to desperately trying to bring Beverly home. As suspicion tightened around Aaron Lewis, detectives moved quickly. They learned that he had arranged the property showing with Beverly using a fake identity, posing as a wealthy out-of-town buyer. What seemed like a promising lead for a real estate deal was, in truth, a carefully crafted trap. On September 28, 2014, just 2 days after Beverly vanished, police spotted Lewis driving in Pulaski County. When officers attempted to pull him over, he fled, crashing his car into a ditch before running on foot. The chase didn't last long. Lewis was arrested and brought into custody, but what detectives wanted most was Beverly's location. At first, Lewis was evasive. He claimed Beverly had willingly gone with him, that she was safe and alive. But his story quickly unraveled under questioning. Investigators uncovered evidence tying him directly to her disappearance. His phone records, surveillance footage, and witness accounts placed him near Beverly's last known location. Detectives also began questioning his estranged wife, Crystal Lowry. Initially, she denied involvement, but under pressure, her account shifted. Eventually, she admitted that she and Lewis had planned the abduction. Their motive was chilling. They believed Beverly, as a successful real estate agent, would have money or access to wealth. The truth was far darker than anyone imagined. Lewis wasn't holding Beverly for ransom. Instead, investigators discovered that the couple's plan had spiraled violently out of control. What began as a scheme to extort money ended with Beverly's life being brutally taken. While Lewis remained stone-faced in custody, refusing to admit full responsibility, Crystal's statements painted a clearer picture of the crime. Detectives now had their suspects, but they still needed to recover Beverly's body and deliver closure to her grieving family. On September 30, 2014, the heartbreaking truth finally surfaced. Acting on information provided during questioning, investigators were led to a rural area in Cabot, Arkansas, a quiet, wooded stretch far from the city. There, hidden in a shallow grave near a cement plant, lay the body of Beverly Carter. The discovery devastated her family. For days they had clung to the hope that Beverly was alive, that maybe she had been held somewhere against her will and would return home. That hope ended the moment authorities confirmed her identity. The crime shook the entire community. Beverly was known for her kindness, her professionalism, and her devotion to her family. To imagine her final moments, alone and terrified, was unbearable for those who loved her. For police, the discovery was the final piece of evidence. It proved that Beverly had never been a willing participant in Lewis's twisted scheme. She had been targeted because she was a hardworking, successful woman, and because she was alone. The recovery of her body turned the case from a missing persons investigation into a homicide, ensuring that Aaron Lewis and Crystal Lowery would now face the full weight of justice. When Aaron Lewis was brought to trial in 2016, the courtroom was filled with Beverly Carter's family, friends, and members of the real estate community who wanted justice. The prosecution laid out the chilling evidence, cell phone records, surveillance footage, and the damning testimony of Crystal Lowery, who admitted her role in the crime but placed most of the blame on Lewis. Lewis, however, showed little remorse. He even claimed Beverly's death was an accident, but the brutality of the crime and his actions afterward painted a much darker picture. The jury didn't take long to decide. He was convicted of capital murder and kidnapping, sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Crystal Lowery, in a plea deal, received 30 years behind bars for her part in the crime. For Beverly's family, the verdict brought a measure of closure, but not peace. Real estate companies across the country began implementing new measures, requiring agents to meet clients in offices first, using safety apps, and setting up check-in systems before showings. Beverly's son, Carl Carter Jr., founded the Beverly Carter Foundation, dedicated to agent safety education and awareness. Her loss was devastating, but her legacy reshaped the way an entire industry looked at safety. Beverly Carter's story is more than just a true crime case. It's a heartbreaking reminder of how quickly trust can be betrayed and how important it is to prioritize safety, even in the most ordinary situations. A hardworking real estate agent, a devoted mother, and a woman full of kindness, her life was stolen in a senseless act of greed and cruelty. But through the pain, her family and community transformed her tragedy into a mission that continues to protect countless lives. Her story challenges us to reflect on the dangers we often overlook and the importance of staying cautious, no matter the circumstances. The reforms that came after her death, the work of the Beverly Carter Foundation, and the changes within the real estate industry all stand as proof that her legacy is making a difference. If this story moved you, take a moment to honor Beverly by supporting awareness about safety and by remembering her not just as a victim, but as a woman whose life continues to save others.